What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to Too Much Tech. And in today's video, we're going to be reviewing the Acer Predator XB273U GX. What a mouthful. This is a 27-inch 1440p IPS 270Hz monitor with NVIDIA G-Sync compatibility, 1 millisecond response time, blah, blah, blah. This thing is absolutely insane. Probably for $700, one of the best monitors that you can buy. And we're also going to talk about how this monitor is in terms of using it on console. Getting into the design, the monitor is pretty basic. I'll say, like, it's not super gamery. There is a red accent on the base that also pivots. Personally, I don't think that the monitor is overly gamery. I think that it looks pretty good. It's got plastic that has like a brushed aluminum-esque finish, but it's definitely plastic. It looks premium. Does it feel premium? And not so much, but it's just a monitor. You're just going to use it on your desk anyways. The bezels aren't massive, but they also aren't skinny either. So if you want to use this in a multi-monitor setup, you definitely can. Just the bottom bezel is pretty thick, and then the bezels on the sides are a few millimeters, but they're not super skinny. Can you use this for an immersive setup? You definitely can, but I don't really think that's the goal of this monitor. For me, this monitor really blurs the lines between a content creation monitor, believe it or not, because the color accuracy is really good. A mid-range to higher end gaming monitor, especially with that 270Hz refresh rate that you can hit at 1440p depending on the games that you play. Like if you play a lot of Valorant or CSGO, you're going to be topping out that refresh rate. And also a really premium experience for AAA titles as well. But getting back to the design and functionality, you have a ton of ports here. You have DisplayPort, you have two HDMI 2.0 is not 2.1. HDMI 2.1 actually doesn't matter because it's not 4K at 120 Hz, so not the end of the world. Don't worry about it for console. A USB Type-C port and 4 USB 3.0 ports. Of course, you have the pass-through that goes back to your PC, but it does have a pretty impressive selection of ports. I do wish that the USBs, instead of being on the left side of the monitor, which typically is where I have another monitor, I really wish that those USB ports were on the bottom of the monitor, because to me, that's just a much better place for quick access USB stuff, because personally, I never really use the USBs on the left side of the monitor, and the ones that are by the rest of the ports are pretty hard to reach, so I don't really get much use out of them. The Alienware implementation is definitely a lot better by having them at the bottom of the monitor. The stand does have all the basic functions that you would typically want a monitor to have, like height, tilt, swivel, and pivot functionality. But the stand is also not massive. It's actually pretty nice, and it's pretty minimal design. It has one red accent on it, and that's pretty much all of the red that you see on this monitor. Like, the design is pretty minimalist and non-gamery, except for the Predator logo on the front, but it's just the logo. You got to do something for branding. And otherwise, that's pretty much it. You could just about use this in an office setting and it will look just fine. Now, in terms of other functionality this monitor has, you have a ton of functionality through that on-screen display that you can control with the buttons on the back of the monitor. You have blue light reduction, you have backlight strobing, you have an overclocking ability to get the monitor from 240 Hz standard up to 270 Hz. Enable adaptive sync for FreeSync or NVIDIA G-Sync compatibility. Black booster that is really impressive on this monitor as well. You can set profiles on this monitor, which is pretty rare for some reason on gaming monitors. I don't know why a lot of other monitors don't have profiles that you can set, one for gaming and one or even a few for different content consumption or productivity needs and just better color accuracy and whatnot, because usually when you play games, your monitor looks washed out. Then as soon as you want to watch a YouTube video, it also looks washed out because you got your black boost cranked and all this good stuff. Anyways, profiles are good. You have a super sharpness feature, and you also have gamut controls on this monitor as well, just to make the colors look just a little bit better, a little bit more accurate depending on what you're doing. The on-screen display on this monitor is super easy to use, very intuitive. Now, with this being an IPS monitor, having that 1 millisecond refresh rate with variable backlighting, NVIDIA G-Sync, and that 270 Hz refresh rate, what does the ghosting test results look like? On the off mode, I can't really recommend it. It's a little bit too blurry, and you can definitely perceive input lag when the overdrive is set to off. So I can't really recommend that for gaming. Normal, I believe, is the best balance because you do get increased sharpness over normal and a little bit less motion blur as well. But when you go to extreme, you get a lot of those coronas following the UFO, and you can perceive it in game, and it doesn't really feel much faster than normal anyway, so it's not really worth using. And you will be distracted by those coronas in game. Like, as soon as you move your character over, there's a visible trail following them. It's pretty bad. I don't recommend using extreme at all. But what about when you're using the backlight strobing mode? is that viable? So when you use the backlight strobing mode on its first setting, it drops the brightness about 30%. It is still bright enough to use because this panel does have HDR 400 and it does get decently bright. It is a little bit darker and I wish that it didn't have that impact at all, but at least it is usable and it does do a great job at deleting motion blur. And then you have the extreme mode that drops the brightness down about 70%. It's basically unusable and it doesn't really do that much better of a job in terms of deleting motion blur than the normal mode does. So you might as well just use normal. I can't really recommend using the extreme profile at all when it comes to that backlight strobing mode. Now, in terms of using this monitor on console, I also recommend using the normal mode. I would turn off adaptive sync and then I would make sure that you have ultra low latency mode on. That's another setting in the OSD. Even when I play on PC, I also leave that ultra low latency mode on because it is definitely perceivable. That really gives you that really low input lag where you don't really feel any delay, regardless if you're using a keyboard or mouse, if you're using a controller. On console, it's limited either between 60 or up to 120 Hertz, depending on the game that you're playing. Now, personally for me, this monitor is kind of expensive to use just to play console. It's 1440p, it's not 4K. Basically, you would be better off spending around $400 on a 27-inch 1080p monitor that goes up to 120 Hertz or even 240 Hertz that you can find for about that price range with a good IPS panel. I'll leave a link to my Alienware review in the description below, but it's going to be the Alienware 2720, not the 1440p model, because I feel like that's just a monitor that's much better suited for console. It's really expensive to spend almost $700 on the Acer, when on the PS5 you can't take advantage of 1440p, and on the Xbox Series X you can take advantage of 1440p. So if you have one of those, maybe this one is a little bit more worth it to you, but I would either go ahead with a 1080p monitor for almost half the cost, or I will wait till later this year until we have 4K monitors with HDMI 2.1 that start dropping. And I'm pretty sure they're going to be dropping later this year too. Those are going to be extremely exciting. But otherwise, getting back to my experience using it on console, is actually not bad. Very playable. Again, use that ultra low latency mode and you shouldn't have any issues at all. And the performance and ghosting is largely the same to everything that I related to in terms of using it on PC. I would just use the normal mode and turn on that ultra low latency mode. Can you use the adaptive sync? You definitely can, but I don't really think that it's necessary unless you're on Xbox. For whatever reason, on Xbox, I do notice a little bit more screen tearing than I do on PS5 with the adaptive sync off. But my overall experience using this monitor on PC, oh my God, I have been shredding with this monitor. This thing is so good, it's so fast. It feels extremely similar in performance to the Alienware, the 2721D that came out, I want to say in like October, November timeframe. And that one is a lot more expensive, but I have seen it on sale as low as about $725 to $750. So if the Acer monitor is full price and the Alienware is within $50 to $100, which one am I going with? I do think that the Acer is a lot more color accurate, so you can use it for more color accurate things. Okay, so the Alienware, even though it does have HDR 600, it does have those vertical local dimming zones, it is a good monitor. But the Nano IPS panel, even though it looks great and it is extremely poppy, this one just seems a little bit more true to life than the Alienware does. I do think the Nano IPS panel looks great. It looks fantastic. But if you're looking for the more accurate colors, then I would say go with the Acer over the Alienware. But there's a thing. The Alienware has native NVIDIA G-Sync, not G-Sync compatibility. There is a difference because when you have G-Sync compatibility on this monitor, it drops your refresh rate down to 240 Hertz. Anyways, you can't use it with the overclocked 270 Hertz. So if you know that you're going to be playing at 240 Hertz anyways, and the extra 30 Hertz doesn't really matter to you, then I think the Alienware, if it's within about $100 in price, I do think might be the better buy, especially because the MSRP of that one is a lot higher and it does seem like you're getting a much better deal. But if the Alienware is outside of $100 of price point, personally, I don't really experience a lot of screen tearing with this monitor anyways. Like I next to never turn on the adaptive sync unless I'm playing a AAA title that drops down to around like 100 to maybe 150 FPS. Then I will turn on the adaptive sync. Otherwise, I just leave it off and I play with the overclock on in most of the games that I play. If you guys are curious about the settings that I use this monitor on when I play, I'll put them on the screen right now so you guys can see and copy them for yourself. If you do end up picking up this monitor, obviously I'll have it linked in the description below, but these are the settings that I like to use. I typically never ever play with the variable backlighting on because the strobing is actually noticeable in person as well as on camera, where on the Samsung Odyssey G7, the strobing was not really that noticeable. And I want to say say on the Alienware, the strobing was kind of noticeable, but not too much. But overall, in terms of build quality, in terms of features, in terms of the price point of this monitor, it's all really good. It aligns really well. It's a pretty good deal for about $600 or $700. I paid $600. I did get it on Acer's refurbished store on eBay, but not so funny story. So when it showed up at my house, the box was absolutely horrible. Oh my God. I'm glad it arrived safe, not damaged at all, but Acer refurbished. I don't know if it was you guys or FedEx, but boxes when they get delivered should not look like this at all. Like, that is unacceptable. I'm glad I tested out and I didn't have any issues with the monitor, but yeah, I was not happy to say the least. I got it for about $600 though, so I saved $100. Is it really worth it? Well, I couldn't buy it new at the time anyways, because I haven't really seen this monitor in stock and readily available in a while, and I really hope that that changes by the time I put the links in the description and also in the future, because this thing is pretty good. And I would say that if the Alienware is over $800, I think that this is a little bit more of a better deal, especially if this is on sale for about $650 brand new. Also guys, I forgot to mention that this monitor does have speakers. Like, this is one of the only gaming monitors on the market, probably in its price range, that have speakers with a 240Hz screen. Like, most of them, for whatever reason, just don't. I don't really mind that, because typically they suck, and if you hear the music in the background, it's playing right now. So I mean, you know, the speakers are nothing impressive at all. Yeah, pretty underwhelming if you ask me, but this is just a perfect example of why monitors that don't come with speakers, I don't really think having speakers or not is a relevant decision maker when it comes to buying a monitor. BenQ monitors, their Mobius line, typically does come with speakers, and I believe they have some more coming out. We'll be reviewing those too. If you're looking for monitor speakers, maybe wait for that one. But that's gonna be it for this video. If you guys enjoy, feel free to drop a like, subscribe if you guys are new to the channel as well. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Be sure to stay tuned to the channel as well, because I do have a ton more monitor content coming in the next couple of months. And I also want to let you guys know that there are some really good semi-budget options coming up very soon that I think will appeal to a little bit of a wider audience and a little bit more entry-level audience as well, for people that aren't really looking to break the bank on a new monitor, because these things are expensive. That's why I haven't really been reviewing a ton of them over the past couple of months, just because monitors are super expensive. But let me know if you guys have any questions in the comment section below, or feel free to join my Discord. I will see you guys in the next video.